Hi, I'm Danielle Davies, and you're listening to Roar, a show that amplifies the voices of women breaking barriers, leading change, and making real impact. Keep listening for bold ideas and stories that inspire you to find your voice and make some noise. Hi, and welcome back to Roar. I'm your host, Danielle Davies. Today's guest is Gina Lamanna, founder of the Fondle Project, a nonprofit that turns breast cancer awareness into something a lot more powerful: action, agency, and unapologetic visibility. Gina launched the Fondle Project after her own diagnosis, and what started as a personal story has grown into a 501c3 organization, a national photo campaign, and a movement that pushes back on the pinkwash version of breast cancer we're all used to seeing. I've known Gina since kindergarten, and if there's one thing she's always had, it's style. It's what made her a brilliant stylist and shop owner for years. And now she's using that same creative eye and sense of boldness to help women reclaim their bodies and their stories. We talk about why awareness isn't enough, how vulnerability and visibility overlap, and what it really means to take up space after your life has changed. Welcome, Gina. And I'm sorry for tripping over my words. I'm so excited to start talking to you. I just blasted through. So, hi, welcome.
Hi, love. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. And I'm sorry, everybody. This is truly like one of my oldest friends. And if I can find it, I've got our kindergarten picture where we're standing next to each other. And even then, Gina's got like great hair at 5. 5 or 6. We are very little, but she is hands down my most stylish friend of all time. But she's much more than that as well.
I'm so excited for us to catch up. We're a long way overdue. So I'm excited and honored to be on your podcast.
Thank you. Well, I'll get us started because otherwise I'll just take us down memory lane all day long. But let's just talk about what you did here. You've got the Fondle Project, but it's rooted in your personal story. Can you tell us about the moment you had this idea and what made you act on this?
I was officially diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016. So what is that, 8+ years ago?
Yeah.
And going through my own journey, being on my own journey and going through my own personal experience, I lost my confidence. I lost my self-esteem, excuse me. And I recognized that many women on this journey as well, we share that common theme. And because we go through so many transformations when you're diagnosed with cancer, we lose our hair, our body changes. I lost my breast, reconstruction. So, fluctuation in weight, hormonal, there's various things that we go through. And being a fashion stylist and being on this journey, again, I recognize this common theme amongst all these women that I was building community with post-diagnosis, that they wanted to be celebrated. They didn't feel celebrated. They didn't feel seen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
So a couple of years ago, when I was going through all this and healing myself, I was like, I want to spotlight these women. So I was meeting so many incredible women, and I really wanted to share their story and make them feel seen and beautiful and empowered. So I had this idea, put it on hold for a bit because life got in the way, obviously, pandemic and whatnot. And it wasn't until, we launched on June 2023. So it was about 2.5 years ago. My oldest daughter, Ava, she was 14 at the time. And at the time, she had found a lump in her breast, some redness and a lump. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know this.
Yes. And we contacted her pediatrician, who I love and adore. And I said, hey, this is what's going on. What's the protocol for this? How can you guide me through this? He told me not to worry. Obviously, she was 14 and she had developing breasts and whatnot. This is very normal. But in the interim, put warm compresses on her breast every 20 minutes. So I helped Ava go through this whole process, and she got in the shower and I got in the shower with her. And I showed her how to apply a warm compress on the redness and the lump. And it was at that time, Danielle, that my 14-year-old daughter, as I was talking to her and showing her and guiding her, she looked up at me with those big, beautiful brown eyes and said, Mommy, do I have breast cancer? I kept my cool, obviously. And that was, I walked her through it and said, no, you don't have breast cancer, baby, and kind of walked her through. And at the time, my heart sank and went through that whole process with her for about 15, 20 minutes. And then I jetted out to my back studio because at the time I had my private studio. I lost my shit
Of course.
and I
Like
called
I'm
up
about to do
Steven.
myself. Okay.
I know. I called up Steven, who's my ex-husband, and he and I are very, very close. And I said, our 14-year-old daughter is now officially concerned about breast cancer. And I started worrying about the age of 31 because my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 31. So that put me on a higher risk. And I started having my ultrasounds and mammograms every 6 months for 10 years because I had dense breasts and I had the higher risk of developing breast cancer. So for me, it was like, oh my goodness, she's 14 years old. I need to do something. I need to it just kind of just jump started things. And I went back and I revisited this idea of like the importance of knowing your body, knowing you're normal, because I know we'll get to this, but my own breast cancer was misdiagnosed. It was not found on a mammogram. It wasn't found on an ultrasound. It was through my own fondling my breast, performing my self exams that found my lump. And so I was my own advocate. But so I revisited the idea. And at the time, I started, like pitching it to my girlfriends and my friends. And I said, I want to do this, whatever. And Charlie, my partner, was like, you can do this, whatever, but there's no way you can do this by yourself. You need like a whole like production team, whatever. I was like, no, I can do this. I'll just get some snacks and get a table. And I'll get my friend who's a local photographer. Like, and we'll do this. It's gonna be great. Like, no big deal. And when I started putting things together, I realized, wow, there's something here, So I wanted to collaborate with all the fashion brands that I have connections with, and I created this amazing pitch deck, and I locked down this incredible photographer from Brooklyn, New York, who is both a beauty and fashion photographer, Kate Powers, and she loved the idea. And I told her my vision. I wanted black and white. I didn't want anything pink, like no pink. I really wanted to create a more modern, elevated campaign, awareness campaign, and I also didn't want to launch it in October because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which I'm grateful for, but it's saturated with all kinds of breast cancer content and everything. So I was very,
Gotcha.
very specific and intentional about I want to do this campaign. I want to be beautiful and black and white. I want to get brands involved, and they're going to have to donate a percentage of their sales to a handful of organizations that I choose. And I want to launch it in June, which is the month for cancer. We honor cancer. It's Cancer Survivor Month for June. So that's basically how it all kind of came together from, recognizing the importance that women want to be seen and celebrated, because we lose our confidence and self-esteem. I really wanted to remind women that cancer doesn't define who we are. It's just a chapter of our story, right? And so with that, and then getting this incredible photographer involved, we created this incredible campaign. We launched it on June 1st of 2023. And I have to be honest with you, Danielle, I had no idea what the impact, how this was all going to unfold. The impact has been amazing.
Well, and I want to
And
ask you. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Say what you're
no,
going to
no,
say.
no, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, first of all, I'm going to show pictures of what this is. So I'll show a couple of pictures. And obviously I'll have links to this in the show notes. But if you guys look, if anybody else looks at the Fondle Project's website, you'll notice, first of all, it's stunning. So it's visually stunning. The women, it's not what you normally would equate with, oh, there's a breast cancer survivor. Not that there's anything wrong with the whole pink wash. That's great. We need all the movements we can, right? We can get. However, yours, people look like supermodels. They look like they must, and they've got to feel like supermodels. And that's the coolest part. Like you're capturing them looking like absolutely at the peak most gorgeousness, and all of these women have struggled with breast cancer. They've all, so it's not, it's just really unique. And I'm just curious what, not only, well, you're telling me, you're letting me know what you wanted women to feel, but what has been some of the feedback, like when they see these pictures themselves of themselves?
First and foremost, I think all of us, there was 10 of us, were on a high for 6 for like a year after that shoot. That photo shoot was epic. First and foremost, I want to give credit to every single creative that came forward because everyone donated their time, Danielle, from the photographer to
Oh,
Charlie's
wow.
DP, Milk Studios with the most incredible photo studio. Everyone donated their time, from the catering to the producer to everybody. It was mind blowing. And it went like, it was just incredible. And each and every woman felt so alive and empowered and gorgeous and just seen. And they felt celebrated. Now there was 10 of us, the one of them being as young as 24. And then the other six were diagnosed under the age of 35. Now I want to just throw in a little fact here, just so you know, and for your audience to know, 90% of breast cancer, there is no gene and it's not hereditary. Meaning that, let's see, I was the only one in that campaign. 1 out of 10 of us had family history, which was me, because my mother. The other nine, zero family history. And again, let me repeat that again. 9 of them, zero family history. One as young as 24, who was misdiagnosed starting at the age of 23. And then the other six were under the age of 35. Okay. So it was very important for me to not only spotlight different ages and different stages of their journey, but also look at those women. They're raw, they're vulnerable, and they're resilient, and they just exuded strength and confidence, and they looked just sexy and gorgeous. And it was just a powerful day. And again, I credit a lot of it to, even though I had the vision and the idea and wanted to pay it forward and whatnot, or fondle forward, I like to say, it was really about Kate Powers coming in and the creatives that really just, made us all feel so safe and beautiful. And it was amazing. I mean, I still get chills when I think about it. And we're working on our next one, we're working on
Oh,
campaign
wow.
2, which I'm really
What,
excited about. We're going to try and do one every year. But going back real quick about that campaign, I had 7 fashion brands involved, 7 female fashion brands. And when I was curating the brands, I was very intentional about what I was pulling to put in the style these women in. Okay. As a stylist, I've always shared with my friends and my clients that there's key pieces you should have in your wardrobe at any stage. Classic pieces that will make you feel confident and sexy and beautiful no matter what. Instant mood booster. So I was very intentional about, like, who doesn't love the perfect white tee, right? Goldie tees was part of it. Vintage Levi's are the best, or a great fitting pair of denim is, your must have in your wardrobe. Beautiful jewelry when you're feeling down. And if you want to wear it, like right now, I'm in sweatpants and a tank top, but I have some of my fun pieces of jewelry and it's an instant mood booster. So we had Jackie Aish, who's an incredible female LA based designer. We had Fleur de Mal out of New York, who's the most incredible, sexy lingerie, because I believe all women should be wearing lingerie, not for anyone else but themselves. So I was very intentional about these pieces, like the perfect fitted blazer. Do you know what I mean? So when I
absolutely.
was styling each and every woman, I'm like, these are the key pieces that make women feel powerful or empowered and sexy and confident. So it was very, intentional about the pieces I was pulling. So yeah.
It's interesting too that you even brought up the lingerie, because I feel, first of all, I've not had breast cancer, thank goodness, and I'm very grateful. And my only it's almost reminding me of when I first gave birth and I was nursing, and I was like, I would, and you're like in a nursing bra, and it's like the least attractive, and you don't, and you feel the least attractive. Like, it goes, you're wearing something unattractive, you're literally like, you know, it's not it's not your time to shine, right? You're feeding someone else. That's great, but it's like it's so important to feel good all over. And I'm the first, and before we hit record, we were talking about not making ourselves the most important person, that we take care of ourselves in all these ways. But even the underwear, there's this book by Jen Sincero. I don't know if you ever read it. It's called How to Be a Badass. But
No.
he talks about one time, like her friend had a French roommate, and this French roommate was very stylish, and she went to change. The girl went to change, and she had like her regular granny panties on, like cotton, or cotton briefs. And the French
I
roommate
love
was like,
cotton roots now.
I know, but the French roommate said, I feel something like this makes me feel very sad about your life, or something along those lines. And it's always stuck with me because I'm like, this is true. Like, yes, there is something to be said about being utilitarian sometimes, but when you want to feel good, when you want your life to feel good, it's important. Like you said, all these little things, they make a difference. If I feel crappy and then I look crappy, I feel worse. If I feel crappy and I look good, it's a mood booster. And even not just your mood, but your positivity. I have to
It's also
imagine
how
that this
you're
helps
putting
your
your,
recovery.
yeah, and you're putting yourself out in the world, right? Like for me, I've always told my clients, even pre-diagnosis, like you feeling crappy, put on some red lipstick, put on your favorite lipstick, or you want to wear sweatpants on day, awesome. Make sure your t-shirt's not wrinkled, and throw in a great fitting blazer or denim jacket and some cute sneakers, and it pulls you together. So I really do believe that style and fashion is a big part of, you know, your identity. But for me and for many women on this journey that I'm trying to help, it really helped me heal on the other end,
I'm
because
sure.
I did struggle for, look, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was just unplugged my marriage from Stephen. We weren't divorced yet, but if you remember, I was with Greg pursuing we were in a long distance relationship, LA to New York.
Totally remember.
Um, and we were together for about a year at that point. And I was very lucky not only to catch my cancer early, but we'll talk about this. I was surrounded by love. I had not only a partner, Greg, who stood by my side. My former spouse, Stephen, was my rock. Like and I had the most incredible community of, I call them my fierce girl gang that really helped me, showed up for me. Like when I had my double mastectomy, I was out of commission for 7 weeks, and they were on a rotation every couple 6 hours, coming here, keeping me company, picking up my kids. Like it takes a village, but once I started feeling like myself, which it took a long time, um, I leaned to getting dressed every day, because that really helped me feel better and feel whole and heal. So I talk about that a lot within Fondle. I've kind of weaved in, one of your questions is like, how do they kind of tie in together?
Yes, that was
And
literally, yes.
yeah, so fashion and style, I have weaved in some because it's about self love, it's about confidence, it's about reclaiming your body and reclaiming yourself, especially when you're diagnosed with cancer.
I was going to say, and how did and this is your career field too, right? You're in style and fashion. So you're not, this world. You're familiar with it, like how to feel good, even what it means to do this. But for some of the women that were involved, how did you help them even, and I know you had a photographer there as well, but again, this is your vision. You put this all together. Obviously, you're talking to the women, you're guiding them through this. How did you help them feel like both or project their vulnerability and radiance? How did they tap into that during these photo shoots?
Honestly, they brought that with them. I just created the safe, like loving, collaborative, like environment. They showed up and brought it with them.
Were
I
they nervous about it? How did they feel?
honestly, first and foremost,
It's
I was a
so
wreck. I
great.
didn't sleep all night. I
Okay.
literally did not sleep. I had 1 hour sleep. They had to put, I've never done Visine in my eyes. They had to put Visine because my eyes were red. I can't even believe when I look back at those photos, because I mean, look, it was a big deal for me to get in front of a camera half naked. I mean, and Charlie, my partner, was the DP, and then Kate brought in Charlie for some of the shots, which was amazing. Um, but they showed up ready, feeling great, so excited. They didn't even know what they were wearing yet, and I had this woman, Kelly, who's a fashion size. She styled the campaign too with me because obviously I couldn't do all of that. Like I had to show up for the women, right? But they showed up ready, excited. Music was loud. They chose their song, their favorite song, and they were alive. They were raw. They were themselves. There was no, and again, Kate, they showed up as themselves ready, but really Kate really pulled it out. I mean, Kate got me to like show my breasts and everything. Obviously, we don't feature those, but like she got me like,
That comfortable.
yeah, she was amazing.
Are they, tell me something. I don't have this, like, we didn't talk about talking about this, but how do you even select these women? Like, are they coming to you? How did it work? And how does, um, for people who don't know, can you tell us how you work with the brands so that that money goes back to these organizations that you select?
Okay, so at the time, uh, that was so I was 6 years out. So I've already started building a community of women on this journey, right?
Okay.
So I had a roster of women, but I also reached out to I just like slid into women's DMs here locally in Los Angeles, like, hey, I'm doing this campaign and I'd love to hear your story. Are you interested? I got everyone was down. And I
Wow.
actually had a wait list. I had a long list of women. That's why I need to do more, every year because I have a long list of women, and eventually we'll probably expand outside of Los Angeles into like New York and other cities. But I had it was everyone was ready and willing. They want to share their story because stories, as you know, are powerful. I mean, like, not only did we photograph them, I actually interviewed them and Charlie filmed them, because originally it was going to be like a short, like docu style campaign, but we couldn't pull it together because we had so many other things going on within the project. But everyone was ready and willing and excited, and it was very important that I had a range of women from age, diversity, like different ethnicities and different stages. I mean, yeah, different treatments. Two of them. Is it? I mean, one woman. I mean, there's another layer to this campaign. Empowering women and spotlighting the importance of breast health and breast cancer, but it was also giving women hope and inspiration because, for example, there's a young woman that was diagnosed at 32, Rebecca, who's a fashion editor for C Magazine here locally in California. She was told she couldn't have children because after everything that she went through. Well, fast forward to a year later, she had her miracle baby.
Oh my,
If you look at our campaign, we photographed her with her miracle baby, which was amazing. And then there's another woman, Sabrina, who's stage 4 metastatic. At the time, I think she was like 5, 6 years in. She's she's now getting married, but she's like crushing it. Like she's like a mountaineer, like crushing it. She's this producer traveling the world, like living her best life with metastatic breast cancer. And then you have Dion, who I think was in her early 50s when she was diagnosed. Like her big dream was to open up her own lash studio. She was opening it right when we did the campaign. Like, for me, finding love again. I'm going to be honest. You're one of my dearest friends. When Greg and I broke up in 2019, I was it was hard for me
of
to get
course.
out there. I mean, like I went from being married and then being with Greg, who loved me as I was, as a whole, loved me through all of it, and then finding myself, okay, I'm single now. Single, divorced, 2 kids, breast cancer, scars everywhere. Who's gonna want me? And my confidence depleted. Like I was fucked up. Like mentally, emotional, not mentally, but like my
Well,
confidence, my
emotionally, it's
self-esteem emotionally was just so like, how am I gonna get naked again? What am I doing? So it was definitely a time of like, okay, how am I gonna get through this? So um I mean, after a bunch of frogs, I guess you could say, because there was a couple guys along the way before Charlie that were turned me away because they were not ready or not interested in being with a woman that was battling breast cancer or on the other end of breast cancer, which obviously those men were not for me. And because in the beginning, when I first started dating, I know I might be derailing here for a second,
No, this
I
is
would
great.
tell men right away, like, hey, this is my story, because I just wanted to get it over with, Danielle. Especially if I was getting naked, like, what are the scars? Like, what? I just wanted, and some, again, like I said, moved on, and others were totally cool. Some Googled me and found out before even me being able to share my story because I did some podcast interviews or blog posts, during the time
You've
of my
always been
diagnosis.
very open about it.
Exactly. So, and funny enough, I didn't tell Charlie. I met Charlie in August of 2020, and I didn't tell him for about 6 months. He thought my scars were like from implants and from like having a baby, like cesarean. Like he didn't.
He's
He,
awesome.
he was amazing. When I told him, I was like, I have something to tell you, but I'm doing really well. And he was like, he was lovely, and he was like, thank you so much for telling me this, but he's like, I like you even more. So he definitely just wrapped me up with so much love, and it just was amazing. And I will say, he is the one that came up with the name Fondle, by the way. I can't take credit for he came up with the name
Well,
Fondle.
he's great. He's a great guy. He's a great addition to our group of people. I we love
he,
Charlie. So
he brings me a lot of calm. But yeah, when we were pitching this and brainstorming various like names for this campaign, we were in the kitchen cooking, and he was like, how did you, because we were together then, I was with Greg, right? He's like, how did you walk me through how you found your lump? I was like, sure, it's fondling my breast. Stephen's fondest memory of me is me always fondling my breast, performing my self exams, because I was constantly like, feeling myself up to make sure I didn't have any lumps or bumps. And he was like, how about fondle? And I looked at him, I was like, what? And I was chatting with my best friend, Leslie, at the time, back and forth, and she was drinking a margarita on the other end, and she literally spit her drink out. She was like, what? And then 5 minutes later, she was like, wait, we're on to something.
it's
And then,
perfect.
right,
Yeah.
because it's somewhat provocative, makes you kind of lean in, it's playful, because look, cancer is a heavy conversation. It's a heavy thing, right? But I really wanted to lean into the younger generation, because the younger generation, people are being
But it
diagnosed at a much younger
pulls
age.
in that, like I mean, and it's obviously, right, you don't associate cancer with sexy. It's just not, this is just not what you're talking about at the same, just like you don't picture nursing with sexy, right? These are just, that's what we say. There's different, we have breasts for many reasons, right? And it's not always going to be about being sexy, but it doesn't mean it can't be. And that's what I feel like you've
You can
really,
still be sexy after a cancer diagnosis.
yes. And
You
so I
absolutely can.
love that the name is a little sexy and provocative, and that your pictures are too. Like that's what you've managed to, I feel like, for the women involved, they've got to feel it's, first of all, anybody who has a great photo taken of themselves, if you've had to get headshots taken for anything and they turn out well, you're like, I look like $1 million. Like I had a picture taken years ago where people were like, that's really good. Like they actually were looking at the picture and looking at me like, is it even you? I mean, it was such a good photo. I'll have to share it with you.
Share with
But
me.
if you had that kind of photo after something like this, the women in the pictures have to feel so good, but also other women who are looking and maybe not feeling that yet, or they know that they can. And for people like, God forbid, Ava, you said in the shower, she was like, do I have breast cancer? And while that's just an awful thing for a 14-year-old to think, and especially your 14-year-old who I know and adore. So, and now she's not 14 anymore, but that's besides the point. She, knowing that there's another side potentially, and that, there's this fierceness and ownership over it, and telling your story gives you that power. It's just, I think you've done something really empowering for a lot of people.
Thank you. But also, the reason I mentioned the whole thing about Charlie, Kate wanted to photograph the two of us together to show women you can find love again. You can be sexy. So that's why we had Charlie. We had a baby. Like these are stories of resilience and strength and inspiration and hope that I meet a lot of women that are divorced or single that go through this and they're afraid that they'll never find love again. I've been there. I get it, but you can find love again. You can still follow your dreams, and because for me, well, with Fondle, because now that we're a 501c3 nonprofit, there's what I recognize. There are so many incredible organizations out there that support research, which I love BCRF. They're all about research. Research is very, very important, and research has come a long way. And there's also a lot of local organizations that offer like chemo rides or like meal trains, and all those things are great and very important, and we all welcome that. But there's a here at Fondle, what I want to do, because as I sit here in front of you, my long time childhood friend, I can tell you I am living my best life. I am thriving. I feel even though I have all kinds of ailments of getting older, I feel the best that I ever have in my life because I am living an authentic life now with intention. And but also I've had the resources and the community to get to this point. And what that means is there's a gap between treatment and healing amongst cancer survivors. When you are diagnosed with breast cancer and you are in it, all we're doing is trying to survive. That's it. We are surviving day after day. Okay. So when you ring that last chemo bell, or when you're done that last reconstruction surgery or radiation, your journey is not over. This is a lifelong journey for us, and your healing doesn't start to begin until later. I didn't start to heal for about a year and a half, 2 years later. Okay, until I really kind of started leaning in what was most important, what I needed, and there's a gap. And there are so many people, women, that's our focus right now, that need the support and the resources and the community. And that's where Fondle comes in. Like, I know a woman right now that all she wants right now is acupuncture. She can't afford it. Well, that's what we want to do. Our funds are going to help provide the resources, these community events and workshops, and maybe it's me styling them for the day and working with a brand, just so a woman can feel alive. Because all we want to do is live and thrive. You know what I mean?
Yes. And
So
but can we go back to for a minute? Can you talk to us because
speaking
I
of, this is a big
I want to
picture of
get
the fondle. Shit.
you're gonna have to show us the you're like no can you take us back though to what you were saying even before you get to this point, because you're talking about obviously in chemo and all this stuff, it's to survive. Take me back to, can you talk to us about how you basically were um went back to your doctors and was like, this, there is something wrong, you
Oh, sure.
self-advocated and to the
Of
point where
course. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a very important part of my story. So, rewinding, normal screenings, October of 2016, after a normal mammogram, normal ultrasound, 2016. I was with Greg, felt a lump, called my doctor and said, I'm feeling the lump. Although my screenings were clear, can you see me? I went in. She feels it. She agreed that it felt a little off and weird. She does an on site ultrasound again, did not see anything alarming, and said, come back in 6 months. And I said, no, what would be my next step to have that added layer of reassurance, because something in my gut is telling me something's off. And she's like, well, you can get an MRI, but the insurance is going to cover it because your ultrasound and mammograms are clear, so it'd have to come out of your own pocket. Fine. Again, I had at the time I could afford that, and many women don't have that luxury or that privilege. So I pursued an MRI, and at the time, fast forward, had the MRI done, and this is where it all started. My dad was visiting for Thanksgiving, and they called me to let me know that they indeed found suspicious findings and whatnot. And that is at the time where I literally almost went off the road, with my dad. And I was like, oh, great. Okay, cool. So I had to go in for another MRI guided biopsy.
so
And
now because they found something, does insurance cover that part, just out of curiosity? Like
no.
no, okay.
So I had to go back in for another breast MRI guided biopsy, which is not pleasant. And the good news is at the time it came back benign from UCLA. Well, I'm a big believer, as you know, as being my own advocate in second and third opinions. And we pursued a second and third opinion from both MD Anderson in Texas and Sloan Kettering in New York. Sent them out, and it was, and I, at the time, I shared with all my doctors. I said, look, when we get these results back, good or bad, you need to tell Steven, my ex-husband, because he needs to tell me the news when I'm not driving or I'm like not with the girls, because I don't want to risk the rate of driving off the road again, like I did when my doctor called me when she told me they found something suspicious. When you hear that, you're like, holy shit.
Right.
So I gave them permission to tell Steven. So
And what you did is they sent those results that you got
They
done
so they
at
I
that,
had to it was very
and you
easy
sent them to
back
me.
then,
Okay.
by the way.
Okay.
You go to the online portals, you say that you need like another opinion on pathology, whatever. I signed some documents and my doctor was great. She signed it off and forwarded it over. So awesome. So it was on New Year's Eve when I got the news. And I just left Stephen and the girls in Chicago because we had spent Christmas together at the time with his mother. And then I was joining Greg in Stowe, Vermont for New Year's. And it was on New Year's Eve day. Greg was skiing and I stayed behind. And Stephen had called me to deliver the news that indeed it was. He's like, hey, Bina, I have good news and bad news. And I don't remember what the good news was, to be honest with you. But he told me we got the results back from Sloan Kettering and MD Anderson, and it is indeed breast cancer. Okay, cool.
So it was not benign, even though at the time, now had it changed? No, it was the same pathology. It hadn't changed. They just saw something else. Wow.
Yeah. So at that time, at that moment, when you hear that you had cancer, the first question to me is, am I going to die? And all I could think about were my daughters. And I ran outside. Remember, Greg wasn't home. It was snowing out. It was beautiful. But I just like dove into the snow and did a bunch of snow angels and started crying and like just, I lost my shit, of course, and all I wanted to do was get back to my daughters. Um, so I took a couple hours to myself. And then once Greg came home, I told him. And then the three of us, myself, Greg, and Steven, I went into fight or flight mode and we worked together as a team. While Steve was in Chicago and I was in Stowe, Vermont with very shitty service, by the way. I remember Greg and I were in his car trying to get Wi-Fi, like emailing and calling and doing all these things. And this is important for everyone that's listening. If you haven't done so, when I went to my fight or flight mode and started like making calls, right? I called MD Anderson to get the first available appointment because I wanted to see a doctor, or a breast surgeon or a breast oncologist or whatever, because I was already on the East Coast. I called Sloan, let them know that I got the report, blah, 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 blah. And I was back and forth with them. Remember, this was New Year's Eve and they were getting ready to close. I think it was like
Right.
2 o'clock at the time, and they were closing at 5:30 at the end of the day. And I called them and they said, we have an appointment for you for, I think it was January 4th. You can come in. I'm like, great, I'll take it. They're like, yeah, we need the last 5 years of all your mammograms, any screenings, all your reports. And I was like, I don't have all that stuff. Well, Stephen to the rescue. Stephen had I would say Stephen had 90% of all my medical records and documents and scans copied on his computer. And he did some calls. Greg did calls. Like we were, again, working together as a team, trying to get all this, filling in the gaps, what was missing from, I was calling LA and whatnot, call my OBGYN. And I think it was like 4:45. We were able to get everything together and like some stuff faxed, some stuff emailed, and I was able to secure that appointment. So, lesson here is have all of your medical records, no matter what they are, just your annual physical exams, any screenings, colonoscopy reports, ultrasounds, have those those copies in handy. even though right now, I mean, currently there's a portal. Most hospitals and doctors have portals now that you get like your written reports. But like when you're getting scans and stuff, mammograms, ultrasounds, you should have copies of all that because you never know. You could be traveling somewhere abroad, or you have no access to your medical records. And if you need them right away, you have them at, right, that are
Yeah.
accessible.
Yes,
It's very
absolutely.
important. Yeah. So I'm grateful for Stephen having all of those. He still keeps like every time I go to the doctor, he's like, can you scan everything so I can upload everything? He's amazing. So everyone listening, have all your stuff together, organized and whatnot. So I was able to secure the appointment. And then that's when, so
So,
I had
did
time.
anybody ever tell you? I mean, so obviously you had it. We all know the end result here. Like this was, but what had would have happened if you waited the 6 months?
It would have gotten me.
Yeah. So if you didn't advocate, if you didn't push for those things, and talk to me about sometimes women are uncomfortable pushing, right? Sometimes people are like, well, my doctor knows best. Like I'm just regular old me. I don't know.
Look, no. I'm going to tell you this right now, and I have a handful of doctors in my camp that will tell you this. They don't know your body best. You know your body best. And I'm a very strong advocate for ask questions. Again, this is Fondle's about empowering you, right? Not only just like reclaiming your body and knowing your normal and becoming familiar with your body, but I want to empower women and give them the confidence to ask these questions. And if your questions are not being answered, you're being dismissed, you find a new doctor. I feel so strongly about that. And yes, there are many people that don't like to go to the doctor. They don't like to ask questions. That a lot of their doctors are very, you know, what do you mean? Or they're offended, or it's their ego because,
Yes.
and that's look, the end of the day, you know your body best. And I remember Stephen, I think he had a conversation with my surgeon at MD Anderson because I had a lumpectomy first before I had the double mastectomy. And and I turned down radiation tamoxifen, by the way. That was my own choice, and we're all on, each of us have we're on our own path. And Stephen had told me when he was asking Dr. Sakini, who's from Italy, he was amazing, said, if she chooses not to do this lumpectomy or chooses not to do this, or if she didn't, what he's like, this would have taken her down. This would have, his exact words were, this would have gotten to her and would have taken her down. So when I hear that, it's like, wow, I'm so grateful, not only because I caught it early, I didn't have any lymph node involvement, but let's let me take a minute for a second and really lean into like I thank my body every day for just reminding me the importance of our intuition because Danielle, as women, our intuition is really powerful. And I think when you slow down, and we can talk about that too, like you can lean into that. When you really slow down and pay attention and take care of yourself, you're getting your body's telling you things. And I'm grateful for that. Like, wow, like if this wasn't a wake up call from my body and my gut telling me like pay attention, follow your intuition, I don't know what is.
Tell me something. I was going to ask you like that in terms of I was going to ask you in terms of agency, but I will also say this in terms of your awareness or how you go about your day even. How has your life changed compared to before your diagnosis? Like how has your outlook? How has it all changed? How has Gina changed from before to after?
Right. Well, before my
And
diagnosis,
especially because you also said you're living your best life now.
I am. I really am. I mean, I feel more confident than I ever have in my life. I actually know myself better. Like I'm so in tuned. But before my diagnosis, like many women, like we were talking about, we put our family, our businesses, whatever. I put my clients, my daughters, everything first. And I was constantly hustling, juggling clients, trying to be the best mom, trying to be a partner to Greg, who was long distance, which adds a whole new layer of stress, right? But, everything. And as I mentioned, like here I'm thinking the occasional Pilates class, and going to the beach to watch the sunset once in a while and eating some whatever, taking my supplements, and I was healthy. And look, to be honest, I was healthy before I was diagnosed. I was a vibrant woman and I had a lot of energy, and then, again, we can talk about this too if we want, but I had implants. They made me very sick. That's a whole nother story. But pre-diagnosis, taking care of everyone else but myself. And then post-diagnosis, in the beginning, I powered through it. Be honest, like I had to wake up every day to take care of my little girls because there was no way I was going to let them see me suffer. I had to show up for my clients. I still had to work. I was a single mom. I had to do all the things. And full transparency, it was almost like I was putting it like I was sweeping it under the rug until I think it was right before I removed my implant. So that was about 12 months in after my mom was here and we were whatever. And I reached up to the cabinet to grab something and I got this horrible like pain, which is common when you have reconstruction surgery and double mastectomy. Like, I had some pain. I was like, fucked, whatever. And she comes up to me and she like holds me and like looks at me. Remember, she's a two-time breast cancer survivor. And she looks at me and she's like, look, when are you going to recognize what you've been through? When are you going to grieve that you lost your breath? When are you going to really lean into what you're going through right now or what you just went through? When you were, she didn't say powering through, but she was like, you were showing up every day for work, your girls. What about you? Do you realize what you've been through? Do you have any idea what your body's gone through? And that's when I was like, oh my God, she's so right. Like I didn't give myself the time to heal or to really lean into what was happening because I was too busy like trying to be with my boyfriend in New York or trying to be with my kids or trying to be a good friend, just doing all the things, right? But
Yeah.
it was that moment where I was like, okay, I have to, yeah, I'm gonna, and then I had a partner, Greg, who was like every day, you're awesome. You beat this. You're strong. Yeah, but you know what? Nobody at the time, to be honest, was giving me the space either to have those low moments. And I still, to this present day, I tell everyone going through this, and it's okay to have those low moments. It's okay. I have them on occasion. Like I'm like, oh shit, I'll get that reminder of pain or something, what I've been through, or whatever. But it took me probably about a year to start really healing. And my healing journey began as I started purging clients. I started purging friendships, recognizing what no longer serves me. I was feeling leaning more into gratitude and how fortunate I was that I walked into my intuition to get me to this point. Also, feeling gratitude for the community, the women in my life, and the incredible medical team that I had, and the resources and the financial resources I had to do all of this. Because again, many people do not. And that I was my own boss. So I could literally step back and take time for myself. I had a very supportive partner. So there's all these things, right, that really helped me. But it took me some time to recognize all that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And
because it's like a whole your life changed and you're trying to just keep going. Like if anybody's ever had anything tragic happen, I remember this is not breast cancer, but I remember at one point losing a late pregnancy and you know about this and I remember at the time being like, okay, it's all going to be better in a week. And then I was like, no, no, actually, this is going to mess with, because you're like, you're just trying to get through. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this is going to affect my whole, like, it's going to actually have changed the way I view my life. It's going to change where I am in my life. It's not just going to be, but it took a bit before I could be like, I'm over the grief or physically healing or this or that before I could be like, wait a second, I'm in my life differently than I even was before. And I feel like what you experience, it's your own body. It's a totally different more pronounced thing. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was
exactly. You get to a point where I was like, how can I reclaim myself? Reclaim that my body's gone through so many changes, but not only that, but like I was going through a divorce. I kind of lost my sense of self, like my identity, and just started working on myself, obviously heavy therapy, but also really work on, I still I call them glimmers in life, like it's so important to do the things that bring you joy, and every day I take time for myself. I started researching like infrared sauna, like dry brushing. All these holistic things have helped me, you know um look, when I first was diagnosed, I became a vegan. Well, that didn't work out because I was like, this is not a life for me. Like, everyone, there's other people that are doing it. It's great. But for me, nobody wanted to hang out with me because I was like, I can't have this. I can't do this. Blah, blah, blah. So I just kind of figured out like what really works for me, or what is working for me. And again, going back to getting dressed every day, like once I removed my implants, I finally started feeling like myself. I felt whole again. Like when I had the implants, I was sick and didn't, took 6 months of convincing my doctors that I was sick, that they
is
were
this
making
a
me sick.
is this a thing that happens to a lot of women? Like, is
I
it
think so. I mean, back then, breast implant illness wasn't talked about. This was 8+ years ago. And I remember my one doctor who always had my back. My other doctors were like, oh, you've been through a lot of shit. Your body's going, you're not, it's all in your head. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm sick. There's all kinds of weird things going on. My one doctor, who was very supportive, said, look, it's going to be really hard to diagnose breast implant illness, but he was the one that said, you know your body best, and you have not been wrong. Let's figure out what your options are. So as soon as I removed them, I was like, wow, because I couldn't even look at myself when I had those implants, Danielle. Like they were so not for me. They were beautiful and I'm grateful. My doctor was amazing, but they just were not me. And it was just a constant reminder of what I was going through. They hurt. Like I just had a lot of issues, and a lot of women don't. They have zero issues, and that's amazing. But for me, my body, I had swollen lymph nodes, I had a low grade fever every day. My hair was falling out. I had all kinds of weird shit. But the moment I removed them, game changer. And that's when that was, yeah, about 13 months later after my first diagnosis, when I really started like, okay, you know, I'm starting to feel like myself.
quick pause to invite you into the Roar community. Roar is all about amplifying women's voices, and you can be part of it. I share the messy, unfiltered, behind the scenes stuff in my emails, things you won't hear anywhere else. Sign up at listentoroar.com and get in on the real talk. And hey, if this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, drop a comment, or pass it to that one friend who needs to hear it. Every share helps bring more women's stories into the spotlight. All right, let's get back to the episode. I feel like, you're saying also not just with breast cancer, but divorce and I should point out, I don't think we even said this in the beginning. You're talking from California, you're in LA, you grew up in the East Coast, you grew up in New Jersey. You're a little small town girl like me, and here you are out in the world as a style icon, and that's awesome. But so basically, you've got this, you're not new to reinvention or kind of re-envisioning your role in the world. What's been a through line for you? You've done all these things. You co-parent, you run a business, you've navigated cancer, you've launched a nonprofit, not to mention raising two beautiful girls, having friendships, etc., all these things. What's been the through line? Like what's anchored you through even when you do feel like you are losing a sense of your identity?
Yeah. I think, you know, I'm a girl's girl. I love community. I love my girlfriends, and I love making women feel amazing. I think that's why I think I've been successful with what I've been doing, because it was never really about, I shouldn't say it wasn't about success. Obviously, I have to put food on my table and build something, but it was always so rewarding for me, Danielle, to have a client or a friend to come in, because my clients were going through various transitions, like whether it's a new baby, losing weight, divorce, new job, whatever, and it's a very intimate job because I'm like in their closet, in their bedroom, in like I've gone through all the different stages, right? But getting those text messages or calls or building that trust and loyalty with women. Gina, you made me feel so sexy again. Like my husband just noticed my ass. It looks great. I would never like that to me fuels me. I love helping women. I love building community. I mean, yes, style for sure. I love like, we girls used to borrow my clothes. Like putting
Oh,
outfits together is it's fun and amazing. But like I think just helping women feel more aligned in their skin. Does that make sense?
yes,
It's all just
absolutely.
kind of I just want to I want to help women. I want to, bring women together because look, the Fondle Project is also about community, right? It's all about community here, not just breast cancer. Like I have so many incredible women and brands that are coming forward that want to help in any way, whether it's volunteering, opening their home. It's incredible, and I'm so grateful. But it's really community and just making women feel seen and beautiful because we all want to feel seen every day no matter what,
Absolutely.
cancer diagnosis or not. We want to feel appreciated by our significant other, by our children, whatever. Like it's yeah, I don't know. Is
And
that
it's I don't know if you heard it, but I interviewed a woman from England last season, and she's a stylist in the UK, but her specific thing is styling around. She does something. She styles to up level women who want to up level their career, but she does it through like I don't want to say their horoscope, but their sense of who they are in the world. Anyway,
yes.
she's great, and I told her about you. I mentioned you, but I wanted to talk to you about the Fondle Project specifically, but also this. But it all comes together. The point is that what you're saying, so many times people are so quick to poo poo, like be like, oh, it's just how you look, like we don't need to be so frivolous or blah blah blah, but it actually is so important. And I'll tell you what, I'm the first one to be like, oh, I'm not so, I'm not that vain, like it's okay, I'm blah 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 blah. But yeah, hi, like it feels good to feel good, like it feels good to look good. And I think it actually
It's
so
a
much
form of
of,
self-love. It's a form of
yes,
love.
but also it's like that kind of positivity. It radiates positivity. And isn't there like a whole dive into cancer or wellness that talks about just even your outlook, right? Like just your outlook alone.
Mindset alone helps you heal. It's you have to, I mean, look, uh, there yes, positive mindset and surrounding yourself with good people that support you and love you and going back to like how I'm living now again post creating boundaries. It's so important, creating those boundaries and letting go of what no longer serves you. And cancer or not, though, you should take inventory of your life to see like where you are right now. Like again, we talked about it, like slowing down, right? Slowing down in your life, like what makes Danielle happy? What besides the chaos and the noise of your loving family and all that, that's all amazing and beautiful, but like slow down and really tune into what make brings those glimmers in your life and that really truly brings you joy. And if getting dressed, hey, look, if you want to wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt every day and that makes you feel good, awesome, that's great. But for me, was never really, I mean, look, I am most comfortable in cute sweatpants, but I always make sure I have a t-shirt on or like some cute fun jewelry and that you're not
You
going to see
are,
me walk out of the house with like a wrinkly ratty t-shirt and oversized sweatpants. I won't do that like my kids. But you'll see I walk out with the ugly like I'll walk out with these shoes, which is a funny joke. I'll walk out with these shoes. Charlie teases me or whatever, the fashionista, that's used to wearing like 4-inch heels, like, but I'm comfortable and I feel good and I'm taking care of my body because I
but
have put
that's the thing. And
that
it's like, it's so easy to say, oh, that's what it was. The woman said her big thing, and how I found her was, she said, do yourself, like if you're a mom and you've bought yourself a pants at the if you bought yourself a pair of pants at the supermarket, you are not valuing yourself. And I was like, can you picture, because she's like, if you're walking past and you're like, oh, I got Clorox up here, these are $10, you are not considering yourself, you are not making yourself a priority. And I was like, This is so true, but it's such an easy thing to step into. It's so easy to make somebody else, especially if you have kids, your priority. And it's a slow fade into the background before you realize that you're there. And I think what you're doing is helping all these people be front and center in their lives and be aware of the fact that you have to place your mask on yourself first to be able to take care of anybody else.
For sure, absolutely. And again, it's, I went off social media as of June 30th and I got to get back on August 1st. So what's up in like 4 or 5 weeks? And I have to say that it's been a game changer. But also, like, I've been enjoying slow mornings for over a year now, which has been my like utopia moments in the mornings after I drop off the kids. But now I'm recognizing like I'm not a my skincare is very low maintenance. I have like 3 products, but usually, which I'm sure you can relate to, like I'm just rushing around, like washing my face, putting my serum on, I'm out the door. Every morning now, I am taking like 5 minutes to do my skincare, meaning slow, like actually massaging my face and my neck, and like really like this is nice. Like I don't feel like I'm taking care. You're taking care of yourself. But remember, we're role models for our kids, Danielle. That
Ooh,
is very important. So I'm very intentional about that. Like my children, which is funny, they're product crazy because of their friends and whatnot. They're not getting that from me. And there'll be times where they'll see me like go out in sweatpants and a t-shirt, but I'll be putting my jewelry on. And like actually Ava just said to me the other day, she's like, when I grow up I want to be like you, mama. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And she was like, I don't know, you're confident and you just walk out like you're not fiddling with your hair. And I'm like, well, my hair is just a hot mess. It's a rat's nest every day. Like I've just given up. Like I can't even, I got
it's gorgeous.
knots in the back, whatever. I don't even care. But I think I'm like, when you get older, that you do, it's kind of, I didn't say this here, but it's like you get zero fucks in some regard. But at the same time, I'm like, Abe, you just got to put on something that makes you feel good. Like my little arm stack makes me feel good. I can jingle. You'll hear me walking. I'm jingling. And my neck stack or whatever. Little lip gloss for me goes a long way or whatever. But it's these little self-care moments that are so important, I think, as moms, and to show our children that, this it's important to take care of yourself. Sure, we're the mom, we're the wife, we're the girlfriend, we're running the household, but like for me, I saw my mom, I was raised seeing my mom work her ass off. She was in an unhappy marriage and she put herself through college and school just so she can get away from my father, unfortunately, and was working 12-hour nights in this ICU and stuff. And she had no life whatsoever. She was just working to save money to leave an unhappy marriage. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. Like, we have one life. Let's enjoy it. Let's like, slow down. Like whatever that looks like for you. Like, and going back to like how I live my life now, it's like I create the boundaries. I'm more present with my kids, and most importantly, I'm present with myself. Every day I have me time. That's a non-negotiable. It's so important to have non-negotiable. Take those walks, whatever that looks like. Read your books, listen to a podcast, sit in the tub, doom scroll for an hour, whatever you want. Because I think it's so important because we get
It
caught
is.
up.
But also, and I want to say this, and I feel like I'm taking up your whole day, and I don't want to do that, but I do want to say this, and this is not what we planned on, but you know, I noticed that a lot of times women in particular, and maybe men, but I talk to only women, so who knows? But really, I do notice this in all the women that I talk to. You see a problem, you see a hole, and you step in to fix it. It's not like you're like, I think I'm going to grow up one day and I'm going to do this thing. Like it's impacting you and it's impacting the people that you love and you're stepping in to fix it. You're not waiting for somebody else. You stepped in and you did this. What does that mean for your daughters? And I mean, they may not always notice it. I hope they'll notice it someday if they don't notice it now. But what do you think? Like what is that legacy that you're leaving to them?
What I am teaching them, more so Ava, because she's older than Allie. Allie's going to be 13 in a month. Number one, the importance of advocacy and knowing, like, I'm teaching her about her body because they're not learning this in school. They're learning about sex education, STDs, and menstrual, things like that. They are not learning about knowing their body and paying attention. So I'm really giving her the tools and empowering her to not only know her body, but to also obviously be a kind human being, but also to stand up for herself. And I'm now giving her agency. Like, we have a pediatrician who's like a concierge since they were babies, and you can text him. And then she also like go gets like her eyebrows waxed or whatever. Like, I'm teaching her the independence, and if something's going wrong, like to text something's going on with her body or whatever, you know, or like we went to her wellness visit the other day, like I'm giving her that confidence to ask those questions to her doctor. You know what I mean?
Which is like
To
the
see
greatest gift you can actually give her is
she's learning, she wrote down some questions and they're nothing bad, but she's got some anxiety and, and we're talking about like social media and they're not on social media, but like the effects of social media and screen time. Like she had all these questions and he answered to them clearly for her and all of that. And, I I'm just trying to teach them the importance of knowing your body, obviously having the confidence and to, you know, if this makes sense. Yeah, it what they see on like social media, that's one reason why I got off of it too. And I think it affects all of us, especially women, is it's filtered. It's they're just highlight reels, not to compare themselves like they're beautiful as they are. Like I think it's so important as we're raising young daughters because they're so easily influenced and all these things they're seeing they're that's impressionable, right? Like, so I'm just trying to show up for them, work, show them that I'm taking care of myself, which self-care is so important. They know that mommy had cancer, that they have an extremely high risk, and they're seeing me every day. Like now they're doing yoga and Ava's doing Tai Chi with me now. Like they are like doing it because they're active girls, they're in sports and dance and surf and all of those things. Like they're paying attention to diet because they see me doing. I'm not like, I do minimize like their sugar intake, obviously, but they are learning, they have great eating habits, but they're learning all these things that are going to take them into, their adolescence into college and all of that. So I think we're their role models that they see. And especially like with their father, like we don't fight in front of him, in front of them. We never have. Those are the little things. But I'm also thinking about my childhood and what I was exposed to as a young girl with my parents. They were fighting all the time. There was no love. There was no affection. So I'm making sure that they see Charlie and I in a loving and affectionate relationship. So, you know what I mean? Because as you know, with the state of our country, I don't want to get into politics over, but the man who serves our country, like, remember when he was
you can
voted
feel free. You can feel free. It's okay. It's
Ava
a
was
safe
like,
space.
Ava was like, both of them were like, this is a man who degrades women and who is, everything that he was, impeached and she's like, this is our president. So I'm trying to teach them too, like, this is not okay. This is not the normal. Like, you have respect for your body, you know your body, you are confident, and you got to take care of yourself. You need to speak up for yourself. Basically what I'm doing.
Yeah,
You know,
and you're empowering them. And I think that's I think that's like honestly the best thing any of us can do as moms or even just humans, like living by example and showing you. And that's why we wanted to I hopped on this call early with you to ask you my own personal questions about how you're doing things because it's important how you live your life and people see it and you've got a platform and you're using it for good. It's great.
right. But I'm also reminding them too, though. I know we're talking about style and fashion a lot, Danielle. I'm also letting them know that that does not define who they are. Like, clothing and style does not, like, it helps. Yes, it's a form of self-expression, of course. But also, like, I'm encouraging them to be like, Ava's still trying to figure out her style, right? She goes through a style phase, like every month, trying to figure out the baggy shorts or this or whatever. Allie's got hers nailed down, but like, it doesn't. I mean, these are teenagers, right? That are so influenced by all this stuff and they're insecure and you know again, like I said earlier, like zero fucks. Like I still pay attention when I leave the house, I'm still a little mangled, but I'm still pulled together. And I want them to see that, like, okay, I do care. It makes me feel good. It's not because of what, a, a, you know, somebody walking down the street. I don't really care what they think, Danielle. It's how I
Right.
and I'm teaching them that, like, you do you, what makes you feel good, regardless of what so and so, they're not paying attention.
Well, speaking of other women, and I know you're saying, this isn't about other people in terms of like it's how you feel, but you also are in a kind of a position of prominence with this nationwide campaign. So you are leading by example. You may not be trying to, but people are following your example because you're like a role model in this space, which is awesome. Great to know you. So let me ask you a question. If a woman listening to this is going through something hard on her own, whether it's illness, whether it's thinking she's never going to fall in love again, whether it's the middle of reinvention as a mom or someone who's going through this, what do you want her to know?
That this version of you, this heartbreak mess, diagnosis, is in between. You're not broken. You're not broken. You're like becoming, and you don't have to rush your way back to yourself or rush back to light. Just let yourself be held and supported and soften, and you'll bloom when you're ready. Honestly, like, it's just, we can do hard things. I have two friends going through some pretty traumatic, heavy stuff right now. And I know when you're in it, you're in it. And it's really hard to see the light. I've been there. I never thought my life would look. I thought I was going to be single for the rest of my life. I mean, full transparency, I'm constantly worried about my daughters and their future with breast cancer, obviously, because their risk is very high. But I remember going through all this, like, how do I move forward? But like, here I am 8 years later. You just gotta be gentle. You gotta trust your intuition. You have to have a positive mindset. You will get through this. It'll take some time, and then eventually, I believe this. Eventually, it'll all make sense for me. My purpose, I believe now. I'm entering a new chapter in my life. I don't know if you knew this. I closed my business in December. I've moving on from styling. I still have, like 10 or 12 clients I've retained, but my main focus and purpose is the Fondle Project. I want to blow it out of the park because it's growing and expanding. We're just getting started. And I recognize I can't do both. I can no longer be superwoman. And I tried for a year and a half. I'm like, wait, my self-care is so important. And this is my new purpose in life, to help my daughters, help other women to really lead into, breast literacy. And again, I keep talking about knowing you're normal, and it's so important.
It can't be said too many times.
You
Look
can't,
what
and you can't wait once a year for your annual OBGYN. You can't wait once a year for your screenings, because look, as we know, screenings are not perfect. They're very important. Mammograms and ultrasounds are very, very important, but mine were missed, and I know many women's cancers were missed from screenings. So it is so important to feel your breasts, fondle your breasts every month. Or for me, I'm trying to do my Fondle Fridays to make it part of a routine. Like, I have women now text me, like, I now do Fondle Fridays every week. They're doing, whether you're getting dressed, carpool, taking a shower, like, just give yourself this loving massage and just pay attention to any new changes, mark them down, bring them to your doctor. But I do know, going back, I'm sorry, I just derailed. When you're in it, it's hard, but you will find it. It'll all make sense. Whatever that heartbreak or hard time is, it you become more resilient, stronger. Like, I'm the strongest I've ever been, and now I feel so good. Like, I was put on. Not only was I put on this world to be a mom, because I love being a mother, but I love community and helping women. This is my purpose. If I save one life, which I have, and encourage women. And I'm like the boob lady now, like having these events now, Daniel, you'd get a kick out of it. I'm hosting these events, and we're having these amazing panels or movement classes or holistic events or whatever. And I'm showing women in their 30s and 40s and up how to perform a proper self exam, because a lot of women don't know. I didn't know back in my 30s. I was just like, I didn't know how to properly do it. It takes 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and it can save your life. So my purpose here is if I can save one woman's life or encourage a young girl to become more familiar and give her the confidence to speak up, ask questions, even talk to your parents, their mother. You know what I mean? Give aid, like my daughter, like I want her to have that, feel safe and secure and confident, come to me like, hey mama, like this is what's
Yes.
going on with my body, whatever body part it is. Like you want to instill and encourage our children, our daughters, men too. It's important. Look, 1% of breast cancer are in men. Men get breast cancer. It's important for men to pay attention. So, you know, I know I've met 4 men that I've interviewed and chatted with since I've launched Fondle. But, you know, again, it's self love, self advocacy, slowing down, tuning in, paying attention to your intuition, you know, and just leaning into all the things and just taking care of yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, what good are you, Danielle, as a mother or a partner or me if we're not taking care of ourselves? Again, going back to like putting the oxygen mask on first, right? We really have to, and we're getting older and things are going to break down and that we got to do these things. And you have to. I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of breast cancers, there was, I forget the number of percentage of breast cancers diagnosed during the pandemic because many of us put it off their screenings. Many people put off their
Oh my
screenings in
God.
the pandemic. You can't. Don't skip your screenings. Stay on top of that. And, you know,
But
everything.
be aware. I feel like because of you, I know to be more aware and to trust my own gut
Have to
because of
trust
what
your
you
own
went
gut.
through.
You know, there's a
Um,
lot of women through the years. I remember when I was first diagnosed and I finally shared on Facebook, there was 2 women that were in my baby group at the time that followed my story and went and had mammograms and unfortunately found out they had breast cancer. They were 2 years late from getting their mammograms, or one was 42, one was 44, and they end up having breast cancer. You know, I had Britt Taxton in my campaign.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. She looks
Um,
gorgeous too.
yeah. And anyway, what were they saying? Oh, so well, I just totally forgot. I had something
You
I
had
wanted to
the
share
two women.
with women and sharing stories, but I forget there.
I
I had
said something about like it's you, it's the fact that you self-advocated that makes me now know how important that is.
oh, right. Yeah. So when I shared my story, a friend of ours in our group had shared with me that she had never gotten a mammogram. And I said, why? Because she was, what, 40, 41, 42. She's like, she literally said to me, because I'm afraid to find out what they'll find. And there's a lot of women that were like that. They're afraid. And not only that, like, let's talk about women's bodies and breasts. There are a lot of women that don't touch themselves. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm
Right,
talking
right.
like they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable talking about their body parts, their breasts or anything. And I really want to change that narrative. Like I really want to flip the script like it's okay. Especially when you're going through menopause. Our body's going through so many changes. We really should be in tune, right? But I've met so many women through the years that not only do they not know how to perform a self-exam, which I'm not judging them, but it's like, and they're leaning just to their once a year appointment, but they don't know. They're afraid. They're like, I don't, I don't want to know. I'm afraid, or I don't know. Know your family history on everything, not just breast cancer. Pay attention because that's important intel as you move forward, as you take care of your health. And your kids should know those things. But I want to flip the script and have these conversations. Why can't we talk about breasts? Why?
I know, and you don't.
We don't. I mean, a friend of mine's good friend who I just met recently, I didn't realize she was the founder of Free the Nipple. Like, what? Uh, we all have them.
You're
We
like,
don't
it's
need
out
to
there. It's
sexualize
fine.
them, but like, come on. I mean, 2 of the women in our campaign, it was our partners that found their lump.
Well, and the thing is,
When
it's
you want to find it, go for it. Have your husband or significant other feel you up once a month or every other, whatever it may be, whatever floats your boat. But just pay attention.
it'll save your life.
Save your life. And I mean, like, look, it's again, mammograms and screenings are very important, but they're not perfect. So to me, it's like just again, just performing those self exams, paying attention. And a lot of women are lumpy and bumpy and normal. Again, I'm not trying to instill fear, but like our breasts change every month due to hormones, especially as we get older. So, like, say you do your breast exam today and you're lumpy and bumpy, right? Next week you could do it and it could be fine. And then 3 weeks later you can do it and it'd be lumpy bumpy. Or it changes all the time. So if you find something that doesn't feel right or you do find a lump, just pay attention to it. Revisit it again, like weekly, monthly. So if it's still there in 3 months, you just get checked out, get an ultrasound done. It's not
How
a
long was your lump that you found? How long did you have it before you, like, you found it? Did you call the doctor like that day or did you wait a few days?
in all honesty, I think I felt it for a little bit, but I paid more attention to it after I got my results back. I'm like, something. And I had Greg feel it. I was like, "Do you feel this?" It was so tiny, but I felt it. So I, you
So
know,
tiny, but it could have killed you. Like so tiny, but you identified it when these screenings didn't. So
and I did call up UCLA after the fact. They redid the slides and they apologized and they redid it and they indeed confirmed again it was invasive ductal carcinoma. I let them know. But I mean, look, I think when it comes to second opinions, a lot of people think there's a lot of. I mean, look, MD Anderson, when I pursued my second opinion, to be fair, to be honest, they did the pathology, but then they wanted me to fly in for 7 days to do all their own testing and scans. And number one, I couldn't afford it, and nor could I take the time. So there are a lot of institutions out there that you can go online and go to to their information site, or there's various portals on their sites that you can just have your doctor, if you want to get another eye on a lab report or a pathology report, you can do it. Some it may be more entailed, where again they may want to see you, but it's pretty easy.
that's
And most
awesome.
doctors should be okay with, like, okay, I get it. You want another opinion on your pathology. You want another opinion on your lab work. I get it. They should support you. They should have your best interest at
That's
heart.
awesome to know though too. I didn't know it was so I would have assumed it's like you have to go there, you have to get the biopsy, the guided biopsy again. No, it's the pathology. Like they've already done the invasive part. Now you can send it off, which I didn't
Mhm.
realize. So thank you.
Of course, it's not a. I mean, I haven't pursued a second opinion. Here's a perfect example of being your own advocate, and I'm launching a Substack August 1st, which I'm very excited about.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
oh, well, yeah, exactly. But thank you. I'm excited. It's a lot of work and writing. I'm not the writer. You're the writer. I went in for a scan not too long ago. I can't remember because I get scanned all the time. Went in for a scan, and it was for an MRI, not an X-ray or a CAT scan. CAT scan has more radiation, and my doctors are very mindful and specific. I no longer get anything with heavy radiation because I have my breast cancer diagnosis. So they don't want to expose me to anything. So I get MRIs for everything. Went in, signed in, like, okay, you're all signed in, whatever. And they said, oh, you're getting a so and so CAT scan. I'm like, no, no, no. I am not getting a CAT scan. I am getting an MRI. They're like, oh no, the order here is a CAT scan. So I'm having this whole back and forth with this doctor's at the doctor's office receptionist, and she's like, no. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call my doctor because my doctor never orders CAT scans for me. This doctor would never schedule an MRI. They're like, no, it's here. So I called my doctor's office, and sure enough, it was the imaging center that made the mistake or the order or whatever. And it got worked out. But if I did not speak up, I would have went into that exam room, right? And had my CT scan. If I didn't like, all the rooms were pretty much the same, all the machines, like, I would have walked in like, oh, I'm getting in. I mean, I probably, when I'm laying there, I'm like, wait, this is a CAT scan. This is not an MRI. And I would have said something. But this is a perfect example. Like when you go in, like, okay, so my doctor ordered this. And okay, cool, great. We're on the same page. Kind of like when they make sure your age and
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
right. Just make sure you just double check everything, because again, walked in thinking, I'm getting an MRI. They're saying, oh no, no, they're arguing with me. And I'm like, no. And my doctor had to call and say, no, no, no. We scheduled an MRI and the insurance is
Seriously,
covering it. So it's just very important. You have to be your own advocate.
Gina, thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you how much I'm excited for everybody to hear this, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Follow us on the gram at the Fondle Project, or you can find us at thefondleproject.org. Say hello, and ladies, fondle it forward and remind your friends and remind yourself to fondle your breasts.
Fondle Fridays.
Fondle
Thanks,
Fridays. Thank you.
Big thanks to Gina Lamanna of the Fondle Project for today's conversation. Next week, I'll be joined by Maria Haugen, founder of Fox Health, and you won't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend or drop a comment. And don't forget to sign up for my email list in the show notes so you're always in the loop. See you next week.